One second. All right, welcome founders to the session today. Our office hour one with covering business model canvas with Mr. Darren Chua. So
Hello.
today's session is a wonderful session for you to ask questions, share your business model canvas, and get insights from Darren. For your kind information, a couple of startups have shared their decks. I believe it is Remo and Catherine, as well as Stanley and Amir. So feel free for any other founders who have decks that they would like to share. Please, you can either send it to me directly, or alternatively, you can let me know if you would like to share your screen, and you can ask Darren your questions directly. With that, I pass the floor to you, Darren, and to you, the founders.
Yeah, hi. Good morning, everyone. Right, I hope the last week, after the class, all of you could go back to really, looking at the BMC again, and come up with a new version, right? And it doesn't have to be 100% right. I'm here to help you out, giving you some opinions about what you have put in, right, and hopefully guide you along, right? So anyone wants to go first?
Might I suggest potentially Catherine from Remo, seeing as that she submitted her business model canvas first, maybe we can use her as the initial starting point for the discussion. If you're all right with that, Catherine, all good? Yep.
Okay.
Right. So Catherine needs a quick minute. Once again, founders, if any of you have decks that you're able to submit, just let me know and I will assist. Right.
Hi guys.
Hi,
Let
Catherine.
me see. Uh,
Right.
do I share my screen? Okay.
Yes, you can. I just gave you access.
Alright. So this is the business model canvas that we have created.
Yep.
So for the key partner, okay, so our first of all, our value proposition here is we want to help elderly and injured people to walk with confidence. So we are building a muscle activation devices that can track their muscle health and improve their muscle within 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
So our key partners here are actually physiotherapy and also hospitals. So apart from that, we do have the accelerator platforms and also strategic sponsors. And yeah, so that is for our key partners. So one of my question was, does government also consider as part of the key partner because they are providing also supports apart from the medical device, MDA approval thing. So that apart from that, so yeah, so that was my question, and this is my whole business model canvas. So for the revenue stream, we do have four stages of revenue actually, from the device alone all the way to freemium plan, and also the data monetization and IP licensing. So that is for revenue stream, and we are actually planning to promote through D2C and also B2B. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so we're planning to
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
promote via D2C and also B2B. So D2C via the landing page, social media. So we have been actively doing social media posting once a day minimum. Maximum is twice a day. And apart from that, we're trying to get them to sign up for webinars and also on offline sharing. So we are able to do road shows. So that is D2C. As for B2B, we are actually doing piloting with hospitals and hoping we are able to collab with them and also to sell in hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so for the customer segmentation for the D2C or B2B, they are both elderly and also rehab patients that include stroke, ACL, and also sports therapy, etc. So yeah, that's about it.
Yes, Catherine. Have you finished?
Yeah, finish reading.
All right. So I think your first question, right, if I remember, was like, do the government function as a key partner, right? And I think
Yeah.
all the yes, right? So because through initiatives, through policies, right, they could be key partners, right? And I think they are good partners for you as well because it builds trust, right, in your company. Okay. So let me just go through this, right? I'm taking a look at this one. Actually, for me, right, I was looking, I'm looking at your presentation, right? I think the value proposition, right? It's about something you do here is okay, right? But I think it's more of like why you do what you do. Like for me, I think the first things that you guys actually do this is like you're trying to provide independence and for aging users, right? And that's the one first thing I do, right? I mean, I see, right? You help them to find back some dignity, right, in life, right, from the device that you have, right? It helps them to, what's that called, keeping their muscles active, right? And I think what you do as well, right, is to provide a portable and discreet, right, device to strengthen muscles, right? Then combining like muscle health monitoring. And do you do like telehealth? Like do you do like some sort of speaking directly with your users? Like is there somewhere that you within the app that you can chat with, right? Or you do it via WhatsApp? Because I see that you want to create a community, right? Catherine, can you hear me?
Catherine, you there? Catherine, I'm not sure we can hear you.
Yeah.
Not sure. I think she's.
Nash, you can hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Right, let me make sure. Right, right, excellent. Okay. I think Catherine might be stuck in terms of her audio. So maybe we can come back to Catherine after this. Yeah, I think she probably got stuck. Maybe in the meantime, we can move on to the next startup, which was Amir. So Stanley, you there? You can unmute Stanley.
Yes, yes.
All right,
Yes,
Stanley,
yes,
I've given
Darren,
you
yes.
access to share your deck. Maybe we can
Okay.
go with you, and then when Catherine dials back in, we can come back to her.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Sorry. Do you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So yeah. Morning, Dylan. Morning, Nash, and morning to everybody. So this is my business model. So for the partner, because my business is mainly related to government, so I will put the government agency like Jakim, Silim, Span, Department of Environment, then SME Corp, then the stakeholder will be those like local government, state government. Because like if I talking about Selangor, only for Selangor and Klang Valley. Then for Perak, it should be like Perak, Perak. Then for Pahang, should be Pahang. Okay. Then my supplier is my supplier from China. Then the activity will be aimed as the effective problem solving of the wastewater and polluted water. Then next is the preserving the water better than other chemical. For the resources, then I will aim for this full certification, like from Jakim, Selim, and Span. Then I also will offer this like smart IoT, AI, and cloud storage for the water quality data measurement. Then regarding my value, I will aim at this like effective PSC solution based on each industry. That means I will customize the solution for different industry for different chemical, so that can bring up the maximum coagulant effectiveness. Then responsive is in the future, if the sales very good, then I will produce this in Malaysia, research in time benefit. And I also add this value to the user. If they're using my water intelligence system, they can able to do the online water measurement, count storage, and for future tracking purpose. Then for the next is the relationship. Then I mainly target government, so I will aim at this like B2G and B2B. For B2G is full compliant effectiveness. Then B2B is for the affordability. That means I will see their budget, then I will offer my solution to them. Although customer willing to pay a little bit more. Then the channel, I will keep expecting the distributor channel in Malaysia, because so far I'm in Selangor. I hope maybe in the future will be some in the northern state, northern part like Penang, Paris. Then the East Coast will be Selangor, Terengganu, Pahang, and Kelantan. And maybe in the future to Borneo also. Then my customer is B2G, like as I mentioned, the Selangor, Kedah. Then B2B will be this palm oil mill and some food process factory, semicon. B2C maybe in the future, because it's very fragmented. So regarding my cost, will be this like OPEC will be manpower, certification, marketing. Then CAPEX will be the tools or machinery. Mini is though like instrumentation to measure the water quality. Then for the revenue will be based on the physical stock, the PSC product, chemical. Then secondly is this like water intelligence system. Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Okay, before I start, right? Like do you have any questions regarding this?
Question.
Yeah.
So far, no, because I think this BMC, I think need to be updated like from time to time, because market is dynamic. When something change, then I need to update. But so far, I think I stuck in this like certification. Because I think maybe last time we discussed, I should wait for the certification, then I can sell. But I think the certification process is very long, especially from Jakim. So I aim to sell my chemical to those like SME. They don't care about certification at this moment.
Okay. So okay, first things first, Stanley, right?
Yes.
I think you need to just phrase some things better, right? Okay, don't say stuff like they don't care, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, to me, to anyone else, right? I think you need to say like where it's not required.
Yeah, not required. Okay.
Yeah, it's not required. It's not a requirement. It's not something at the moment, right?
Yes.
So, like something like that, right? So if you say don't care, then people will think like, oh, are you breaking,
okay.
yeah, breaking the law and stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay. So like I mentioned in my last the class, right? Like I usually want you guys to approach this by starting with your value proposition, right?
Yes.
And the BMC shouldn't be like very how to say very detailed, but it is more like things that it's a big picture thing, right? And then you can extend on each segment, right? So let me type in, like, I'll paste to you something in the chat, right? Like based on my very initial understanding of your business, your value proposition should be something like that. And I hope most of you guys can take a look as well, right? It's really like, that elevator pitch when you meet someone, right? And what do you really bring to the market, right? So for me, what I see is that, you bring something that is a customizable water treatment solution tailored to, local industry needs, right? And localize production, to reduce reliance on imports, ensure supply chain resilience. Then, you use technology, right? Your smart IoT, AI, real-time water treatment. And then the key point that you want to mention is cost-effective, compliant, ESG aligned solution. You're first in Malaysia to develop PAC with series certification pending, right? Yeah. So it's more like, you what value you bring to this industry, right? And why you do, right? So and then, you have this big picture thing, right? That it's your, your Bible, your Quran, your whatever, right? It's the rule that you follow, right? For this company, this is what you want to do. And then with that, right, then you filter down to activities, relationships, partners, your costs, your revenue, right? So I think most of the time, founders, what they do is that they forget their value proposition. So this is something that actually, I would use the business model canvas, and then from that, I use this to build my OKRs, my objective and key results, right? So your value proposition is it's equivalent to your objective, right? So it's like, what you want to bring to this market. So how should you be, how customizable is your treatment solution? How localized is it? And what can it do, right? Reduce costs, it's compliant, it's very fitting for this market. And you're the first one to do this, right? And then you have like pending certification, right? So it will be approved. It will be something that your clients can use, right? If they are regulated by, their supply chain, by their clients, their industry. So, like business model canvas isn't the answer to, all your problems in your business, but I think the aim of it is to give you clear vision, right? So use this to put in the big pictures, and to communicate this to your team, to investors, right? So I think like even just now, like in Catherine, the one that she shared, right, it's also very specific to what's happening right now. But I think, you guys know what's happening right now on a day-to-day basis. You're dealing with it but this BMC, it's more for you to, really put in the building blocks of your business, the things that really matter. And, once you put it in, stick to it, but revisit, as the business grows or change or pivot, So, so far looking at your business model canvas, right? I think it's okay, right? You know exactly what you need to do, right? So I don't really have any key issues with that. Let me look at your key activities, right? Yeah. So my key activities that I would suggest, right, would be something like that. Let me put it in the chat as well. Wait. Yeah. So things that you should be doing now and moving forward, right? So it's you need to be out there, development and local production. That's one that's important. That's your day-to-day, and your deployment, right, of your AI, your technology, and your solutions, right? Obviously, talking about your product certification and maybe IP filing, right? Then starting with your your customer trials, your success case, building it up, right? And if you are fundraising, that's one key activity. So I think this is something that I would write in your activities, right? Like, yeah. So this would be things that you look at and like every day. These are the 5 things that is it 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah, 5. Like let's say this is from my point of view, right? These 5 things that you should be focusing on day to day, month to month, week to week, right? And yeah, so that are key activities, right? So it's if you just write something like what you wrote now, right? It's like, oh, aim, preserving water better. It's very, feel good.
General.
Yeah, I want to save the world. Yeah, how? Like, what are you going to do to save the world? So it's more of like, you want to aim at effective problem solving. Yeah, how? So what are you going to do? You need to deploy. You need to find customers. You need to, produce your IPs, get certification, right? You need your trials. You need your success case. You need your POCs, right? Proof of concepts cases, right? So focus on this. You look at these activities, right? And these activities will help you to really think about day to day what you're going to do, right? Because so many founders, that I meet, right, and even myself in the past, right, I just sit in office. Some days are slow, right? I don't know what I'm doing, right, and just sort of waiting, being hopeful. But once you really write down, like, let's say if I am a successful company right now, now let's say your company is successful right now, what are the things that you'll be doing on a day-to-day basis? You won't be just sitting around, right, waiting, hoping, right? You'll be out there, doing more R&D, right, improving your product. You'll be out there, pushing your solution out there, or fixing your solution, improving your AIoT, your AI, your systems, right? And you'll be out there doing sales, right, meeting people, fundraising, right, and all this. So and then that's where you get to thinking, right? So I need to do all this. Where are my channels, right? So channels here, what you wrote down, it's very big picture. So I wrote something like this, right? So if you look into the chat, right, it's, you go for, government tenders, partnerships, trials at target customer sites, industry events, or maybe forums, a referral, right, through your own contact, your industry's contact, right? So list all these channels, right? And then you can, simply create like an Excel, right, where you talk about, okay, if I want to go government tender, where is it? What's coming up? What kind of partnerships could I form, right? And all this. Then you talk about, your key partners, right? So let's say your key partners. Let me paste what I wrote here. So the next one is like, your key partners, right? You can talk about, the consortiums, the manufacturing partners, government agencies, industry people, right? So, the key partners and your channels usually go hand in hand, right? So that's where you find your people, right? So this business model canvas is something like, you write something like this, where you look at it, it puts you back on track. It's like a compass for your business, right? Right? It gives you directions, it gives you meaning, and then you look at it and it's like you're thinking like, oh, what am I doing this week? How am I going to plan my meetings? Where I'm going, right? What I'm going to do, right? So this BMC really is just, it gives you direction, a compass, right? So it points you in directions, help you stay focused. But obviously, the journey, you still have to walk the walk, right? Walk the talk, right? And do the hard and painful work, right? So this, let's say just for the matter of BMC, it really helps you to, focus, tells you where to go, and it's something that I print out, I put on the wall, I look at it, right? And then from this I extend, right? Oh, what activities? I list it down. Who are my partners? List it down. Where are my channels? List it down. Which channels are good? What's the cost of the channels? Blah 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 blah. Those are things that it just helps me to extend on what I need to do every day, right? So I hope that you would just see BMC for the sake of it, that this is what it is supposed to do for you at this stage. Yeah, and yeah, go ahead and ask.
Yeah, then may I ask, because normally BMC should be very like simplified in one page. So if I put all your like the key tasks that proposed by you, can I expand to two pages or maybe 3 pages in case?
like I mentioned, right? Let's say if you're selling it for someone, keep it simple. But for yourself, it is really how you want it to be,
Okay.
right? Because it's not about representation. It's not about making it chante or whatever. It's not about looking nice, whatever. But it's more of like, you look at this, you know what to do every day, right? And letting maybe like, an external party, if you join accelerator, mentor, or someone you meet first time, an investor, whatever, you can put it up there. They look at this and they know, okay, and in 5 minutes they know, okay, so what you do, who are your channels, what you do every day, your resources that you have, the partnerships that you have right now, the channels, the customers, the cost, your revenue. Then I think there's one more step that you can take, right? Is that you can do one based on now, right?
Yeah.
And you can do one for the future, how you want to, right?
Okay.
Be your ambition. So you can look at now BMC, and the BMC when you are matured, or your what's that called, your wish list, the ideal situation where you are where you are right now, like you are where you want to be, right? So at least you can see you are here, maybe at stage 1, and you look at yourself, okay, this is where I want to be, right? Then you can compare. So my partnerships I have right now versus the partnerships that I would love to have, when I'm at that stage where I can tell myself that, this business is going, it's churning, it's moving, I'm where I am. Maybe, do a business model canvas of, you're projecting yourself in the future, let's say 6 months, 1 year from now, right? And that could be, that last final, it's not a final destination, but one of the checkpoints, right, in your journey that, in like a GPS, right? So you put it your first stop, and I'm here right now. I put my first stop there. I look where I want to be, and you look at where you are right now, and that gives you first direction, what to do right now, and it gives you an aim of who you want to be, let's say 12 months from now, right? So this is some tricks that I've learned. I have learned along the way as well when I'm speaking to founders like you, because I see a lot of different kinds of business model canvas, and some people do like, oh, I did, as I saw one team did like now 6 months, 12 months, and that to me was like, oh, great, because starting that the inspiration comes from within, right? So they did this and they're like, damn, this is my OKRs, my KPIs, these are the milestones that I want to hit, right, across all your business, right? Then you would be very driven. You would be like, oh, okay, let's go achieve this these things that I put in, right, of who I want to be, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, Dylan, I think I have put maybe I think the SWOT analysis, then what action, then also the roadmap. Yeah.
So I always say, right, like I never went to business school, right? But I teach at the the MBA program and all this, right? But end of the day, it's not about putting all these SWOTs, whatever. Right? I mean, it is good. All these are guidelines, right? It's do you speak Chinese?
Yes, yes.
So in a way, it's like 纸上谈兵, like it's just
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So let me translate this, right? It's more like just putting your
Paper
plan,
talking.
yeah, on paper, and the strategies are there, like people general, right? Fight a war, just put it in strategies and hope it's done, right? So, but end of the day, these stuff are just structures, whatever frameworks, right? Frameworks that you call it, right? That just helps you organize stuff. I think your job, not for you as well, but everyone here, every founder here, is just go out there and achieve it, right? Prove it. And even if you fail, at least you have proven something, right? That you're not here just to say, because so many founders I meet, they pitch the dream, right? Just this morning, I was driving to work. I was listening to the podcast about the WeWork thing again, right? So, same thing, right? Adam Newman, he pitched the dream like crazy. Doesn't care about anything, right? Keep pitching the dream and the dream. But a lot of founders I meet, like, oh, the dream is this, the dream is good, right? But then what are the steps to, the real, steps that you're going to take to achieve that dream. So try not to focus too much on, like, the BMCs, the swords, a lot of other frameworks. But it's, yeah, putting in, I think, that the actual plans, right? Like your deployment plan, like the real actionable operational stuff, like go to market, right now. Okay,
Yes.
if my tech not ready, right? My AI is not ready, right? My tech team, what is it? If I need an app, I need a platform, right? When is going to be launched, right? The testing, does the users actually do anything? Does the data go in? Does it come out, right? Does it help? Does the chart comes out? Do people actually pay for this? Then reach out to the clients. The people is going to pay you, right? So focus on the things that makes your business really work, rather than, I see some founders hiding all day long doing pitch deck, which is meaningless if you're not out there. And I can share, maybe because, I mean, you guys are from Malaysia, right? You would know, like, shop, what's that called, Carousel,
Ah,
Carousel, Shopback, the cashback app, right? So the founders of Carousel and Shopback, and they're all my friends, right? They are my seniors in NUS, right? I saw them sitting on the desk, 2 people, 3 people, when they grow so big today, right? And until today where they are, like, unicorn stages, right? They are still working really hard, right? They're working at doing what? Like, when my friends at Shopback, I was almost a Shopback co-founder, I rejected it, yeah, because he's a good friend of mine. And he, when they raise a big funding, let's say, their first 100 million, 150 million, I'll congratulate him and say, wow, you've achieved unicorn status and shit, right? And he was like, no, it just gets, it just means that, it's more work, right? And he's not about celebrating, his certain milestones. Obviously he's happy, but, getting investors money means you need to churn a return, right? They put in 100, they probably want 5x, 10x of that. So how do you want to create that, right? Only by going back to the business, right? So he's opening new markets, thinking of how to spend that money, right? Getting new users, building new teams, right? R&D, or, using some of that money to acquire, right? He acquired one of my another friend's company, right, in Singapore, right? So it's a constant thing that you used to build, and even, like, I know friends who are at that high level, unicorn level, and even at that level, they are, like, humble. They go back to work. They don't just, go around accelerator programs, pitch and pitch and pitch, which is a big risk that I want all of you here to take back. Don't live in the moment, right? In the sense that, because I made that mistake, right, when I was younger, like 20 something, doing startup, flying around the region, right, and I forgot one thing: going back to work, right? So when I look at my revenue, I look at my user growth, it was up, 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 and then I got so, obsessed with this kind of things, right? Then I forgot what really matters to my company is about making money, growing my users, keeping my users happy, retaining my users, getting new users, getting referrals, and generating revenue, and being accountable to, who? My shareholders, right? So to the boards, to the shareholders. And that's the number one thing that I've learned, right, throughout all my startup experience. It's, do what matters, right? Other stuff, the fancy stuff, it's like, you do it for the sake of a presentation, for a show, but always remember, deep down, your DNA, go back to basics. Your primary objective, right, is to make money, your clients, service them, your product, R&D. So back, always remember, right, staying true to, to this. And also for you guys, right, for every business model canvas that you do, obviously, that you put a date, your version, right? And then you could compare, the next one that you do, right, versus the one that you have, right? So it is in a form, it provides you an understanding of how your company has grown, across, 2 months, 3 months, right? And if you find yourself not being able to put in new stuff, then you need to start thinking, okay, if you're not able to put in new stuff, so the current stuff, is it effective? If it's working, keep it, make it better, right? Enhance, right? Streamline. It is not working, then you start revisiting. Like let's say your channels, right, are not working, right? So you say, okay, this channel sucks, right? This channel is expensive, or this channel cannot be realized right now. Let's say your channels are government agencies, right? You're a small startup. You walk to them and say, hey, I want to get help from you guys. They're like, they ask you to go back home and go to sleep, right. So
Mm.
maybe there's some channels that doesn't work. So you have like short-term ones where you keep revisiting. If it works, streamline, enhance. If it doesn't, remove it, right? Then put in new stuff. Keep trying.
Mm.
So this one example I would say that the business model canvas is evolving. It's a living document, not do it one time, put it there, then that's it, right? Yeah.
Understand. Thanks. Okay, thank you, Dylan.
Thank
All right.
you. Nick.
Thank you, Stanley. I think we have Catherine back, right? Catherine, you there?
Yep, I'm back.
Yeah. So maybe we can pick up from where we left off with Catherine.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. So Catherine, you can reshare your screen, and then I think Darren was in the middle of giving you his feedback when your internet
yeah,
cut out. Yeah.
on the value proposition where we are supposed to have like telemedicine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let me look at your deck again. Right. It's so many companies, right? So, let me see.
In the
So, okay.
meantime, founders, please check chat and fill in your attendance for today's session. Sorry, Ryan. Go ahead.
So, Catherine, I think you do have a reason for starting this, right? Because I'm also in the health industry, right? So I want to understand from your own words, right? Why you do what you do.
Okay, we started this because we want to help our family members to gain mobility because they are not able to walk, not even able to climb upstairs. So that is the reason why we start up this, and we try it on our parents and we realize that it really helps them to gain mobility. So yeah, that's our main key start point.
Okay. Yeah. So you see, right? That is actually your value proposition, right? That you actually allow people like elderly people to age with like dignity, and get them back to let's say help them to maintain, right, mobility, right, help them to be self-sufficient, right. I think that's the number one thing that I'm seeing, right. And then how do you do that with your, what's the name of your product?
Remo.
I mean the device itself, it's called a
NMES.
Yeah, so yeah, your NMES and your
MMG.
wellness active wear, right? So the device. So it's through the device, right, that they use, and then through your app, right, your mobile app, that you able to record, make sense, right, and help them to recommend exercise, right. So yeah, so I think this, your value proposition is it's not too hard, but I think let me see, right? I wrote something down just now. Let me paste it to you. And I think the most important thing that you need to talk about as well, like I think aging is something that is about aging gracefully, right? And finally, leaving with dignity, right? Because I lost my dad last year, right? So I find some comfort. It's okay. Yeah, I find some comfort in the sense that he passed away in his sleep, right? And even my mother-in-law 2 years ago, she passed away in her sleep. So I think in some form, me and my wife, we are blessed in a way that they did not suffer. They did not suffer a fall, illness, pain, and all this, right? And I think someone like my dad, he loves life, right? He's active his whole life, even at 60 something, whatever, is nearing 70. He passed away when 69. He was very fit, you know, and he's like, you know, he will never, he said, you know, you'll never see me on the bed. You'll never see me on a wheelchair, right? If I go, I go out strong, you know, like that. You know, he always tells me he's like,
Wow.
really went out like that, right? So, you know, and it's like, it's, I think it's about providing that kind of dignity for people, right? And I believe in muscle training, strength training, because from my background in curves, which I'm still doing right now in Indonesia, right? And I think there is, and recently I met a gym operator here in Taiwan as well, right? So they got this whole solution where they want to help elderlies, you know, improve their muscle mass and all this thing, right? And they're saying that elderlies can still lift weights and all that. But I think they got the concept from USA, right? States, right? I think the Westerners and Asians are very different. The diet, the lifestyles, you know, the bone density, the muscle mass, it's different. Even from young, right? They are much bigger, they're much stronger, whatever, right? Right. It's just genes, DNA, you know, environment and all this. So for us, we live in Asia, right? You know, places are small, food, you know, the diet that we have, you know, it's just crazy. The environment we have, you know, you don't get like open the doors, you get the mountains, the clean air, you know, we open, it's all pollution, right? So the market you're in is interesting, right? And it's and I think what you're trying to do is good, right? I think the proposed solution, the things that you want to solve, it's there, right? And I always say this to a lot of founders that are, you know, hardware based, right? That I think you guys are amazing. You know, I respect and salute you guys when you're doing hardware. Because for me, I come from a computer engineering background, right? I had a choice essentially to go the hardware route or software, right? And coming from Singapore, you know, Singapore is just a dot on the map, right? So we don't have any manufacturing, right? There's, you know, there's no hard economy. We only have like soft power, like people. It's the resource, right? So I went software. Software to me, scalable, fast, cheaper to deploy, right? Like let's say for your company, um, you know, I would start thinking like, you know, you need to talk about, because your hardware, right? There is still initial capital involved for creating the hardware. Let's say even the molds that you use, right, to create the, you know, the structure, the shell, logistics, warehousing, certification, and all this, right? And then, you know, it has to match with an app, and then that's where you get into the app, you know, the app business, where R&D, you know, hardware, software, you know, integration, you know, the communication, and your UI, UX, you know, the retention rates. So, you know, apart from just one, like, you know, I was always only doing with the app side. So I only had to focus on the problems of software. But here you have both sides. So, you know, I respect you guys for doing this because I can never do it. And even in Taiwan, a lot of hardware companies, you know, whatever hardware, AIoT, it's there. And I think I've seen quite a few companies that are in a similar industry as you. I think last year I was part of a sports accelerator program here in Taiwan. It's not really about muscle thing, right? It's a device where you put on it's about pain management. So they use like the red light, right, to heat up and, you know, heal the muscles or something like that, the nerves as well. So, you know, it's spending a lot of money on hardware from the start, right? And then it's about creating the app, and then, you know, the business itself, right? Like, I mean, I think since we're talking, right, I just want to give you my advice, right? Based on my experience here, because I see you list down like a lot of this competitors, right? Motive and, you know, the big machines. And then obviously we talk about you know, your Fitbit, your Apple Watch, your Garmin, blah blah blah. And, you know, I think companies like, you know, the Apple Watch, you know, Garmin, whatever, I mean, they are big right now, right? I think Fitbit also started from a sensor, but I mean, they started from a period where it was essentially no one was doing this, right? AIoT was like, what is that, right? And they started early, so they had like, you know, the first mover advantage, right? And then, you know, they got up there, and then I think today, I don't know, Fitbit is like, you know, yeah, you know, Apple Watch pretty much dominated the scene, right? Right, in terms of, you know, a smartwatch health monitoring device. Then we have the Ultra, the Apple Watch Ultra. There's all this different device, and they only can do big because, you know, they're Apple, the users are there, right? So would you want, like, even talking about the AirTags, right? Right, before AirTags, I use this company called Tiles, right? Like TILES, right? And it was great. But then with the AirTag, you know, because everyone's using iPhone, you know, they're using iPhones as beacon to do the tracking. I think if you know the technology behind it, it's like that. So instantly they got like, you know, 1 billion users around the world, right? So you could track anything anywhere with the AirTag, right? And then compared to Tiles, which is, you know, it relies on more people buying it, and then the tracking works. But then there you go, ecosystem is built, Apple do something, put it in, and it's done. So I think one thing you need to think about, right, is that, you know, no doubt that I think your device is great. It probably would be, you know, whatever tech, science, IPs that you have is great. I'm not going to challenge you on that. But what I need you to start thinking right now, it's your go-to market. You know, that's really, really important right now, because it's going to be extremely hard, right? If you're launching as a personal brand, right? Let's say Remo, right? As a hardware brand, then you think about your channels, right? You see, the channels for you, right? Like, you know, you can talk about the channels that you put in here are more of like, you know, your sales channels, you know, landing page, social media. Yes, but do you put it on like Shopee or like third party, you know, e-commerce, or even like physical shops, your
Uh,
capital and all
we
those?
plan to, but after we get the MDA approval, because we are right now we are a wellness device, but we are going towards as a medical device as well. So
Okay.
that's the reason we did not like approach Shopee and all this yet.
Okay. So, right, the big debate comes, right? Like, okay, say if you are being classified as a medical grade device, then that's where you need to put in more effort, right, to get your FDA. I don't know, the US one, like in Taiwan, we have like the Taiwan FDA, TFDA, right, before local can even start working with you, right? And you know, if you're keeping more like a monitoring device, right, or a, you know, what's that called, the like massaging device, whatever, you know, it's non-invasive, doesn't really give you a medical thing, right? That will give you ease of market entry. Let's say you're selling overseas, whatever, right? Distributorships and all this, that will give you very quick, right? Very quick go to market. But then, I mean, obviously, I could understand why you want to be classified as, you know, a medical grade thing, right? Because it's you know, prestige one, it builds trust, branding, whatever, right? Maybe you would love to enter clinics, you know, physiotherapy centers, blah blah blah, wellness rehab programs, right? So, you know, at the end of the day, right, this is something that you need to decide, because I've seen so many teams that struggle with this, right? You go the medical route, and well, you know, with every new product, new versions that you do, you need to send it in again, and again. And then you mentioned your ISOs, your whatever certification, and whatever your industry, you know, the industry mandates you to get. And by the time you get all this, you're spending tons of money and a lot of costs invested, you know, from yourself or maybe even from investors. Then your stress is like, how many devices am I going to sell, right? How much I'm going to sell? How am I going to sell, right? So right now, like I've seen so many, you know, medical wellness device companies, hardware, they face the same problem, you know, to the point where it's, you know, they need to start thinking, how do you go to market, right? And you know, obviously you put in your Kickstarter, direct to consumers, but you know, that's just the first step, right? Then the main parts comes in is your channels, because today you say you collaborate with your physio, your clinics, the doctors, you know, your Shopee, your hospitals, your clinics, you know, these your channels today, yeah, actually, you know, that comes with a huge cost. And in all business today, like I see, right, channel costs are something that it's huge. That's why Amazon is big. That's why you see your Taobao in China is big, your Shein is big, because everyone wants a channel, right? So the channels, operators, what they want to do is just get mass market, right? So you put it here, you get eyeballs, you get potential sales, right? That's why Shopee takes a huge cut, right, from your sales and everything. So there's a lot of channels in Taiwan for e-commerce. It's e-commerce crazy here. And obviously you can look at, throughout the world, it's Alibaba and all these things, right? Your Amazon, your online and your offline channels, right? So start thinking on the channels and the cost that comes with these channels. Like, let's say, we have companies selling stuff, right? So through 7-Eleven, we have like Family Marts, we have your Tesco, your Costco, your supermarkets, your Carrefour. All these are channels, and they take huge cost. Even shopping malls, right? They take a huge cut, 30%, 20% of your revenue every month, right? They don't care, right? Because they're providing you, the human traffic, the views, right? The leads coming in. So this is something that I think in your line of business, right, it will be challenging, right? I do not have the answer for you, but I can share with you like what's the other teams are facing right now, right? In terms when they're doing a business like yours, right? And because I'm not like familiar with the health, hardware industry in Malaysia, but I am here in Taiwan. So, but more or less, right? It's the same across. So maybe start thinking on all those. And obviously right now I think all hands on deck on getting your certification and stuff, getting your first device out there. But start thinking on how do you mass produce, how do you scale down your costs, how do you achieve, like, you probably have your OEM manufacturers, right, your partners to
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
So there's your MOQs, the standard stuff, right? And then you start thinking that, oh, what if version 2 comes in, right? Make it smaller, better, like an iPhone right now, like next one is like 17, so many versions, right? But Apple has that capability because the iPhone sells out like crazy, right? So start thinking about that, right? Think about the base stuff first, because I know a lot of these teams, they talk about the science, the helping people part, the feedback from the case studies, the people who try it, right? The improvements they have. Yes, talk about that. But then the business sides comes in, like how are you going to manufacture? How are you going to handle that? How you handle distributions? How are you going to get the channels? How are you going to sell? Who are you going to sell through which channels determines how you're going to sell. And the sale might not be buying the device. It could be, the hospitals, the rehab or whatever, they buy the product, right? Then they're on a subscription plan, right? And then they put their patients on the subscription plan as well, right? So the patients don't really own it. I don't know, right? There's a lot of ways to do that. Or they could say, oh, the patients could buy it. So I don't know what's the cost for this. How are you pricing it right now? Like ballpark figure, 600 for the device, like in ringgit.
Yep, it's in ringgit.
In ringgit, 600 ringgit, and then subscription base, right? Okay, 600 ringgit. That's like, okay. Is that considered quite a lot of money for the patients that you're looking at?
This is based on the survey that I did with about 100 people within Malaysia. So I did a survey, primary market research. Then I was asking them like, how much are you able to afford after a demo? So then they say that I think within 500 to 800 is affordable because it saves costs in long term for their rehab.
Okay, so pricing is important to you because, right, end of the day, keep it simple, right? You are a company that makes money off selling the hardware first, right? You need your iPhone, right? Before my AirPods make sense, right? Before your Apple Watch makes sense. I can't just buy this and it doesn't make sense, right? So for your subscription revenue to kick in, right, which is like recurring, helps you pay your costs and maintain, right? So your first pot of gold comes from actually selling that device, the hardware itself. So think about your bill of materials, think about the cost of manufacturing, the cost of goods sold, cost of distributing, right? Putting it all in, right? So I'll put the manufacturing, the raw materials, your OEM costs, your packaging, marketing costs, your delivery, your warehousing, whatnot, your certification costs, right, into one product. How much does it really take to make this product into the market, right? So that is the total cost that it's going to cost you. And then versus the selling price, then you talk about the profit margin per device, right?
Okay.
And then obviously investors will ask, how many devices can you sell, right? So that's the first revenue stream for you, right? So the profit margin from one device, how much is that gonna be, right? How many device? What numbers we're looking at, right? If you say, oh, I need 1,000 device, 10,000 device out there, right? Then they'll start challenging you on, can you produce that 10,000 upfront, right? And again, then from this 10,000, what kind of subscription revenues are we talking about, right, on each month, right? So all in all, it's a good, the business plan for this, the revenue model, it's something that has been tried and tested by many companies. You buy the Fitbit and you're on the subscription, right? You buy the iPhone, you're on the iCloud or Apple One, whatever, right? The music, the TV, whatever. It's the same shit, right? But then think about, I think right now, if you're in any investor pitch, they'll say, oh, how much does it cost to make this device? How much is selling for? What's the profit margin per device you are looking at? And your next thing is that, can you push the price down in terms of cost, right? And if you're able to maintain this pricing, then lower cost, more profit margin means you make more money, more profitable, right? So these are the usual stuff that hardware companies would face, when meeting investors, right? So then just me, giving you some advice about that. I think your business model canvas is okay, right? So again, if you're listening to what I've been, teaching you guys, preaching to you guys, use that right now to sort of give you directions in where you are. And also the points that I've been telling you right now are things that you're going to face very soon, right? Or if not in the near future. So think about that, right? And yeah, not just focus on, right now it's great. It is great, right? I trust you on that, right? But the real problems come in on scaling, right? That's something that I want you to start thinking on, right, as you progress with this.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Darren.
Yeah, no problem, Catherine.
Right. Thank you so much, Darren, for the time. I really appreciated that you really covered both our case study startups in key detail. For the rest of the attendees, if you want to get Darren's help with all these details, you can. Ashikin, you have a question? Hi, Ashikin.
So sorry. I tertekan, sorry, yeah.
Tatakan. Okay, no worries. Uh-huh. So with that, I would like to close today's session. For those of you founders who would like to speak to Darren more about these things, you all have your ad hoc mentorship hours. So if you use the Academy portal and book time with Darren, you can find an availability where it would make sense for him and for you to have a discussion and figure out the next best steps in terms of helping you out with your startup journey, particularly on BMC, or on other parts that Darren's able to assist and guide you on.